What up, guys? So today's podcast, we have a ADCC recently, ADCC Trials winner who was 175 pounds, winning the 99 plus division, which means with big fellas, big boys, right?
It's like 220 and up or something like that.
It's 217 something and up.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
And so again, big fellas, he actually beat one of my guys, Brandon, at the tournament, who, at the time was 260 and moving like he's 160. And he looked really good. He was, to me, the performance that I watched at the ADCC, that was the standout to me, because again, no matter what, and again, I always talk about how strength's really important, athletic attributes are really important. Technique is not always the answer, kind of thing. But at the same time, I think everyone loves watching a smaller person go out there and, do the thing against bigger people. Now, Mike's by no means a small, tiny guy. I mean, he's a shorter guy, about 5'9", but he's also thick. I mean, he's got big old legs. He's strongly built.
In comparison, he is
significantly in comparison, he's significantly smaller, but he's not like a 130 pounder or something, right? But that said, this podcast has got a lot of interesting nuggets. Like when I was going through it, me and Eugene were talking about it. There's if you're thinking about competing, or you just want to get into like the mind of like, okay, how am I going to beat someone in a roll or whatever? There's a lot of really strategic and tactical advice here. And it's not super heady. Eugene and I'll talk about this sometimes. I feel like sometimes jiu-jitsu circles, it turns into this like nerdy, like, I feel like I'm at like a college class or something, and I get bored. I'm like, this isn't jiu-jitsu to me. This is like coming from a very pragmatic, guy who basically he's like talking about it, but at the same time, it's very pragmatic, very practical, very simple. There's a lot of depth to it, but at the same time, it's very easy to follow, right? It's not like we're like getting into some like weird philosophical discussion or something like that. And it's basically, we're a few bros sitting around talking about it, and he's explaining it from a very, what I find very useful standpoint. So with that said, hope you guys enjoy the podcast. And be sure to keep an eye out on Mike at the ADCC Championships coming up at the time of recording this later on in August. And if any of you guys are there, make sure you come say hi to Eugene and I, because we'll be there. We'll be walking around and probably whip out the mic. Like we did last time.
Interview action.
Do some videos and stuff like that, which was fun last time. And so thank you guys for being here on the podcast with us. Also, big thanks to our sponsors for helping make the podcast happen. Charles Web CBD. If you guys have never tried CBD, or if you've tried CBD before and you would like to use a product that comes from a very reputable brand, and a brand that third party tests all their supplements to ensure the purity, to ensure that what is on the label is what's inside the bottle, and that you can have the peace of mind and know that you're putting stuff in your body that is exactly what it says it is, because CBD is not regulated. And so in some cases, like they did studies on this several years ago, where they took all these different CBD products that are on the market, and many of them had compounds in them that were not listed on the labels, or the compounds that they were there were showing up, in differing amounts. So it wasn't consistent. And again, with any supplement, at least in my book, I want to be as consistent as I can with it, because if I find something that's going to give me a benefit, whether we're talking about like protein supplements to even I weigh out on my coffee for caffeine. This way, it's like I know exactly what I'm getting every time, because again, especially like when you get dialed into something, you eat a certain workout meal, oh man, I feel great working out. That's going to be my workout meal until it isn't, right? Because if I feel good working out on that food, I'm going to make that my pre-workout meal every single time, because I know it feels good for me. And if I'm tweaking my supplements for recovery, such as CBD, I want to make sure that if it's there, I want to make sure that if it's feeling good, that I'm always getting the same effect. And so again, if you want to try other stuff, it's all third party tested from a different company that it's not their company. It's in their back pocket or anything like that. And you can check out their website at charlottesweb.com. Promo code is Chewjitsu30 for 30% off the order. Also, thanks to Epic Roll, epicrollbjj.com. Fun thing coming up. I'm just sent Matt some new designs that I'm going to get made. And so we're going to have some new prototypes made in the near future. And then you guys can take a look at them, find the ones that you like. And, you can get yourself a set of rash guards and shorts for the new jiu-jitsu design coming up sometime in the next few months, but you'll see me wear them in videos and things like that. But we're getting the prototypes made, and we'll see how they come out. But if you guys want to check out his website for any of this products or stuff like that, because again, the reason why I use Matt and his gear is because I think he does a good job. He does a great job with customer service. Anytime something pops up, or the actual quality of the stuff's really good. And he makes everything from gis, rash guards, shorts, t-shirts, whatever you're looking for. Again, you can get it at epicrollbjj.com. And then if you want to save 20% off the order, the code is Chewjitsu20.
And they'll be at one of the teams at PGF, the PGF World. That's coming up here in the next week or two. And Matt and Zoe have like a team that they are going to actually bid on.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so they're sponsoring, Matt's been sponsoring a lot of up and coming athletes, and then they're doing the thing with the PGF coming up. So you can also check out his stuff there at the PGF coming up. Also, guys, if you want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. Later on today, we'll be recording a question and answer situation where one of the Patreon members sent a question. And so we're going to be answering on the podcast. And so for some reason, if you guys have a question that you would like answered, or if you would like a way to communicate with us a little bit more directly, that could be a way to do it. You could get onto the Patreon website and sign up for the membership that we have to support the podcast, get access to the library of content that we have made that's stretching back like 5+ years at this point. And then on top of that, we have little extras like that where we'll answer questions directly. And also too, you guys get an ad-free version of the podcast should you be interested in such a thing. And so you can check that out again at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And last but not least, guys, if you would like to get my daily Chew Crew email, where I send out a daily email, it goes into everything from books I'm reading, sort of philosophical ideas to take away from it. I think last week I sent an email that showed 3 different books that I was reading recently, and sort of listed the ideas I got from them, both jiu-jitsu related and non-jiu-jitsu related. A lot of people liked it. There's also very specific jiu-jitsu related stories and ideas and things like that. And there's a little humor stuck in there as well. But again, if you guys want to check it out, go to chewjitsu.net/join. And when you join up, I'll send you a free gift of some ebooks that could help you out with your training, everything from building a game plan to active drilling strategies, some of which we talk on this podcast about. And it's laid out there in those ebooks. And again, you get the ebooks for free, you get my daily email, and then from there you can read it every morning, or you can unsubscribe at any time. So with that said, guys, let's jump into this podcast with Mike and talk about some jiu-jitsu. So wanted to get you on the podcast because obviously recently you had the hell of a performance out at the ADCC Trials. I mean, winning the trials regardless is a big deal, but then being 175 pounds, winning the 99 plus it's a pretty nice feather to have in the cap.
Thank you.
But I was, but it's one of those things I wanted to have you on because you're also one of those guys where you've been around for a while. You've beaten some pretty tough guys. Like I think it was like 2015 with Gordon in the trials, right? Like, you were second. I remember you did like the second at the Kasai thing that they had. Like you've done really well. And maybe some people don't necessarily know who you are because you're not like the most like vocal trash talking dude on the internet. So sometimes you can fly under the radar. So throw some stuff at you. So real quick, man, I don't know this, but how did you get started in jiu-jitsu? Like, how did you get going in it?
So back in 2008, 2009, I was in high school. I was entering my senior year, and I hadn't really done any sports other than like recreational swim team and track, right? So I wanted to do some kind of sport, and that was when like the Never Back Down movies were coming out, and it was the backyard, MMA matches with the jiu-jitsu and the striking. So I just told my dad I wanted to sign up at a local gym, an MMA gym. And I was given the choice to either go into striking or jiu-jitsu, and I chose jiu-jitsu. And from that point on, obsessed, started taking it super serious, skipping school, skipping lunch just to like go down the road and do a couple classes here and there. I would do the kids class, I would do the drills class, the weightlifting class, the basics class, the advanced class from like 3 p.m. until like 9 p.m. at night every day. So that's how I got into it. I started competing, and I liked it a lot, and I was decent at it. So I went with it.
Now, did you start off I know you're an ATOS guy. Did you start off at ATOS or did you start somewhere else?
I started off at a gym called Westside MMA in Katy, Texas, and no affiliation to ATOS whatsoever. Was a Gracie Baja affiliate,
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to San Diego for a little bit, was with Rodrigo Medeiros and those guys, Joel Tudor, those guys. And then I went to Lloyd Irvin's for like a year. And then from Lloyd's, I went straight to ATOS in 2013. And I was there ever since.
Why'd you settle at, I mean, obviously it's a great gym. Everybody knows Andre and how high level you guys are, but what was it about that gym early on that you kind of discovered that was really interesting to you and very much fit your jiu-jitsu?
Well, I mean, San Diego's the best. I don't know if you guys have been, but it is an amazing place, amazing city, amazing weather. So I wanted to live on the West Coast. I just wanted to be over there, and ATOS was the best gym in the area, and still is, obviously. But the work ethic that Andre had was pretty similar to the Lloyd's environment. There was a different kind of mentality that he brought that coupled with the intensity of Lloyd's camp. So I think that I liked it. All my teammates at the time were there too, like Keenan Cornelius, JT Torres. Everybody was just choosing to go there, so I kind of just followed suit. And then I never left just because, like, I mean, how could you give that up when it's just like such a serious champions factory? Like every single belt, you throw a rock in ATOS Jiu-Jitsu, you're probably going to hit some type of champion. So that's what you got to do sometimes. What
was it about Andre's mentality like that you really liked, or what was the difference? Maybe if you can compare, Lloyd's gym and ATOS, what was like the main difference that kind of drew you in?
I think that Lloyd was working on breaking through a lot of athletes, getting a lot of athletes, American guys, to break through and like do well, like DJ Jackson, Keenan, JT. But Andre, I feel like had already done it, So on the mat, there's Andre Galvao, Rafael Mendez, Guilherme Mendez, all the the original ATOS guys that were already winning world titles dominantly for years. So I think that was just the difference, just the accomplishments.
Now, did you have any wrestling like going into jiu-jitsu, or you just like did you pick it up as you were going? Because you have a pretty strong like wrestling game when you compete, and so I assumed that you probably had some wrestling background, but is that not the case?
After I started doing jiu-jitsu and my senior year of high school started, I signed up for the wrestling team and I wrestled for like a year in high school.
Okay.
And I loved it, competed a lot. And then, I wish I would have done it all 4 years. I think I would have been able to do really well, especially like in the Texas circuit. But from there on, I just had wrestling coaches throughout my career, like Fred Levy, Daryl Christian, really high level wrestling guys. So I've worked with those guys for quite a bit.
So, man, at the trials recently, like when you got done, it was actually when you beat Brandon. I remember you got up and you were just friggin' pumped. You got up and you were talking or whatever, and you were saying whatever. What was all that about? Like, because obviously you just looked super pumped, super excited. Was there something that was in your mind, like that you had in your mind about being there, like this many years or whatever? Like, what was going through your mind when that happened?
I mean, dude, like I won the trials in 2015. I did ADCC 2015, 2017. And in 2019, I felt like I got robbed in 2019, right? And I feel like that would have been my year to go and break through and get a gold medal. So I feel like after the 2019 mishap, I was kind of overlooked and forgotten about while these next gen guys were kind of taking the limelight, which is totally understandable because in a way I let that happen by becoming inactive just from like, frustration and things like that, which is fine. So I think it was just years of just pent up emotion of wanting to be back there and having to prove it, and like my thing was like, where's my prospect of getting an invite? And I'm like running through the toughest bracket, like as far as trials go, US West Coast is going to be the toughest. And 99 had a lot of good guys in there. And the way I was winning was just showing like, hey, I should have been on that list. So I feel like that was just kind of me letting guys know like, yo, like, this is what I'm doing. Like, put me on the list next time just because I've been here and I've been doing good work. So it was also, just a lot of pent up, just
something to prove, man.
Emotion.
You feel like you were
chip on my shoulder.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little about what happened in 2019 if people don't know what kind of went on at that time?
So I matched up with Adam Warzinski, the European trials. He's a beast, great competitor. And if you watch the match, like from beginning to end, I'm all over him. And like, I kid you not, like I probably had a list of like 19 to 23 attacks and like good positions compared to his like one ankle lock attempt, which I countered and turned into a back attack. So I just feel like following the criteria to a T. And I was just warming up just because I knew I had a tough match in Josh Hinger next. And then after that, it was going to be Mateo. So I was just kind of heating up, you know, just getting into my move, which was, you know, my mistake. I should have put points on the board. But at the end of the day, I was following criteria. So I think that I should have been given that win just because I just didn't see how he had won. But there's, you know, there's politics when you go into these things, and you can't necessarily leave it to in the hands of the judges, because depending on like who the judges are as grapplers, like maybe they're seeing something different than what I'm seeing, depending on what they like to do or what their experience as a competitor were back in the day. So bottom line, can't leave it up to the judges. This time I left a couple matches to the judges, but I like made sure I even followed the criteria even more to a T and didn't leave any room for error, and initiated things in overtime and initiated takedowns. So I made sure to tighten up even more. So yeah, it was a big learning lesson that I was able to learn from and use the experience to win the trials a couple weeks ago. So
is there anything in particular, because obviously the ADCC is a unique rule set compared to like the IBJJF or anything else that's out there. Is there any particular strategy or tactic that you utilized in the trials recently? Because especially being a smaller guy in a situation with some of these bigger guys, was there a particular tactic or a way that you sort of use the points / the rules to your advantage?
It was a combination, just because I knew I had a bunch, especially after my first match. I went against this giant guy. He was like 350 pounds, like 6'4", like a big dude. And after my match with him, my muscles were so inflated. I was so gassed out. Luckily, we got to go for a break and sleep and then come back the next day. But I was like, man, I don't know if I can have like 6 wars like this. Because at the time, like, I haven't been lifting that much. I've been super lazy with the jiu-jitsu training. I've been doing mostly like boxing and kickboxing for my MMA transition. And so I was just kind of like, dang, like I can't have these wars. I need to put these guys away. So I had to build like a game plan to where I put some guys away quick so I could have something in the gas tank for whatever wars I needed to have with like Damon Ramos or Pizzuto in the finals, you know? So combined with the I wanted to have pressure on myself to get these guys out quick. I also were playing like getting to my guard quick and getting to my guard legally, like by going for takedowns, especially in the OT. Because that was the key to victory, was guarding these guys up, just because big guys have a harder time passing the smaller guys guard, I feel. And then I also learned I can't, like, I love guillotines. I'm a big guillotine guy, but it's done me dirty so many times in point style contests, because like let's say a guy will go for a takedown and I'll jump on a guillotine and maybe the guy will escape and get the 2. I've lost so many matches like that. And so this time I was ready to bail on the guillotine and find my turtle so I can negate all sequences. And I just made sure to just follow the turtling rule after every failed attack. I had a couple guillotines that could have put me in a bad spot, but I was able to, like, you know, really sell that I was going for the guillotine and then explode to kicking away to turtling. So because even in 2019, I went against Patrick Gaudio in the absolute, and he grabbed a single leg on me and I jumped the guillotine without clearing the leg first. And so he ended up popping his head out and I didn't turtle off of it, and he got the 2 and I lost that open weight match. And I believe that I would have gone on to beat Lackland, and that could have been like a great run if I would have won that match. So that kind of haunts me as well. So I have these experiences from like my past contests that I've learned from, and now I'm taking them with me, and now they're helping me make better decisions when I'm on the mat.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing that makes like guys, you know, in competitions, what makes you guys good, right? Is like you're taking your style and then you're also sort of molding your style around a set of points or a point system or a scoring system. Like you said, you might have a great guillotine, but if it puts you in a negative spot, then you have to make sure that you get to turtle if it's not working and know when to bail on it. Or say, well, I'm going to make more utilization of my leg lock game and pulling on guard. And you did that at the trials really well. I remember like when Brandon was going against you, I was like, man, you know, because he was feeling good. I was like, you know, because he had played with Brailer. regular. He's like, he played legs. I was like, that's fine, man. I was like, I'm just like, I was like, I wouldn't play legs with him. I was like, but bro, do what you want to do. If you feel it, go for it, whatever.
Yeah.
And he jumped in there with you, and I was like, afterwards, he was like, well, shit. Well, I played the game and got caught for it, but
he was doing really good in the beginning.
Yeah,
really good.
But I mean, you were just you had your game plan down to a T, and it was fun to watch. How much did you weigh in for at the trials?
175, 177.
That's crazy. How tall are you?
5'9".
Yeah,
yeah, it's nuts, man.
Yeah, I remember when we were like looking at it, we're like, is he really doing the 99 kilo? What made I believe I saw an interview and I had an idea as to why, but for anybody that doesn't know, why did you do the 99 plus division opposed to say like the normal, like going to 88 or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, ATOS, coming from ATOS, there's so many good guys, and those brackets are all filled with ATOS guys. And training against your competition that you're going to go against first and second round, like, it's just not the training environment that I prefer. Some guys can do it, but I'm a pretty tribal guy already, so I want to make sure that if I'm like competing against someone, I don't want contact with them on the mat. I don't want to watch them. I don't want to focus on them. I want to be in my own corner doing my own thing. And I have to kind of click up in those situations because I've been in brackets with other guys before, and I kind of have to kind of create my own training camp around my goals and what I want to do. And now 99 plus, there's no one in there, so I don't have to worry about any of my teammates. I get to utilize them and train with them and get better, and then I get to worry about all these other guys that are not on my team. So it's nice. It's refreshing.
You kind of saw that with 2022. Ty and Josh Hinger,
and then who was it? Who am I missing?
Barbosa and Hinger too.
Yeah, Barbosa. I was like thinking like the Hulk, because so all three of those dudes were in there,
and they knew each other. So I mean, they knew each other so well. So I think it kind of a little bit is unfair, right? Because I think I don't know, as a coach, also as like Andre, somebody that's coaching, it's really tough to probably go through that. But did you ever think about maybe going down? Like what weight class would you naturally be at, do you think? Like 77?
It depends on what I'm eating, but like if I'm like being super strict and serious, 77. If I'm just, living my life and not really watching what I eat, 88. Yeah. I have a weird body type. It's weird because I'm kind of in the middle of like so many different weight classes, and it's my stats also can help me do good against the bigger weight classes. I mean, all the world titles that I've got under my belt are all in like the heavyweight divisions. Since colored belt, I was always that guy that kind of went against the bigger guys. But I feel like as I've like settled into like a more of a team captain role at ATOS, being like one of the more OG guys that are doing stuff on the mat, I just want these guys to have their moment, and I know that I'm good enough to take out these titans. So why not? Just got to lead by example.
That's cool.
Well, I mean, it's sometimes it works that way with like a style matchup, because there's like some guys that, again, most people, their thinking is to cut weight and get to be like, the biggest for the weight class that they can be. But there's been a lot of cases where I've seen guys where when they bump up in weight, even if they're on the smaller end of the bracket, the way their style matches up for that group, it just works out for them, and they end up doing better, even though they're the smaller person, which most of the time we're trying not to do that, but for them, it works out great. And, I think like you said before, I've gone against some small guys in like open divisions, and, you start, especially when you're competing, right? You get used to big guys move a certain way. So if you're rolling with guys around like 215 or something, 215 pounders for the most part usually move a certain way. You get a hold of a small guy, they're usually a lot more flexible. They're way more, they have more dexterity. They're quicker. And sometimes it's like, it's a pain. Sure, if you can pin them and get them on like into the side, it's easier to get a hold of them. But like trying to actually do that, it's like, it's hard to do. It's hard to deal with sometimes, even if you're like a much bigger person. And that looked like it was the case at the trials, where you were able to play your guard game really well. And it was really hard for the bigger guys to just flatten you out and smash you. Is there a particular style of game that you play when you're up against bigger guys to avoid getting crushed on the bottom? Because obviously for every small guy that's going into jiu-jitsu, that's a problem for them.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, like that's always the threat when you're going against these big guys. They can just use their free weight and get the guy on bottom tired. So frames, wrist control, basic speed on hips, pull on their head, play with their posture. Like with the big guys, you really got to focus on the step one, and that's going to be the hand fight. If they have their grips and their underhooks, they're going to be able to apply pressure. But if you keep your gripping and your frames on point and you stay disciplined with that and you don't rush, then you can break your opponents down. But if you start making mistakes and making poor decisions about like where to grab and put your head, hand, hips, like any little thing, and they can capitalize on that, and the whole thing is over. So like if I let one of these big guys get a near side underhook on me and just keep me flat, now I have to use strength to get out. But if I just stay on my side and I control his wrist and I keep my feet ready to go, feet on hips or close guard, then I'll have enough time to get out and to counter. So gotcha. I think if any small guys are going against big guys, they got to follow the number one. Don't focus on the big movements and the submission yet. You got to focus on the hand fighting. You got to focus on the positioning and stay basic and fundamentally sound and stay disciplined with that, because most people will get bored playing that game and then they'll break focus, and then next thing you know, they're getting smashed. You know, so.
What do you avoid? Like, is there any like sweeps or positions, you know, that you would avoid against a bigger opponent?
Well, if I'm on bottom, I don't want his chest over my chest. I want to stay on my side. I don't want to be flat. I want to make sure I figure out which hand he likes to use more, and I control that, you know, whether it be his left or right, like near side, far side underhook, whatever movements. I'll have some people like scout out like my opponents ahead of time and see what kind of positioning they like, and then from there we can make a game plan. But that goes to show like you got to be well-rounded. Because you never know what these guys are going to bring to the table. Like for Brandon, for instance, he did that weird cartwheel pass. He did that bolo to Brailer. You know, I'm glad that I was able to see that, because those are the kind of moves that if you slip up on, next thing you know, you got this guy on your back and you're getting choked. So I just think that feet on hips is great. 2-on-1 wrist control, you know, don't let him get the over or underhook. I mean, you know, be stingy about your positioning. Really, really fight for that, because big guys get tired, not even doing anything. They'll just start getting tired, breathing heavy, and it's just off of a little movement, hunched over. They're using their hands. I'm pulling on their head, messing with their base, making them work in little ways. And over time, they'll usually make a mistake. Like with a couple of the guys, I had to be really clean. Like this big Viking-looking dude, he was like probably like 230 plus, and he was a Greco-Roman guy, and I drilled 2-on-1 from standing, pulling right into the single leg X without having to like breach through his defenses. I just pulled directly underneath him clean, and then I got to the ankle lock without any fuss. So I like positions like that, clean kills, and just good decisions. People make a lot of mistakes just out of panic and fear, and I felt like I was just dialed in, out decisioning everybody.
What I think something you said there was really important for anybody that's like listening. Like if you're watching matches of people that you're going to go against, right? Like one of the most important parts of it, and like a lot of people get so fixated on like the really cool finishes, you know, because it's fun to watch, like watching some guy do something really cool and finish it. But like one of the most important parts is like, what position are they trying to get to? What kind of hand fighting grips do they keep going for? Right. Because that kind of tells you what that person's trying to do. And that's what you got to fight. And when you watch like really good competitors, a lot of times the matches are decided by who gets to play in the position that they want. So like you said, as soon as you got down into the leg, you got to the position you needed to be in and to play against the guy. And then he didn't have a chance to put you in the position he wanted to, where he could use the Greco. And then boom, that gives you an advantage, right? And then like when you're talking about playing against some of these bigger guys, instead of trying to like battle with them and do these takedown battles, which would be a problem, and you're purposely putting yourself in a position where they can't get their chest to chest, and then you can then access the legs and go for an attack where you're able to do that. And again, I think that's something for a lot of people, those sort of engagements in the beginning where you're hand fighting and you're just fighting for body positioning, a lot of times for people, they can be boring, but that's an important part to watch, an important part to study. So I think it's worth bringing up.
Yeah. What would you say? Maybe it could be, you know, jiu-jitsu wise, it could be personally, like as a human, what's the biggest difference would you say in yourself from 2019 to 2024 to now? Like, what do you feel like is the biggest evolution of you that's going to maybe get you on the, you know, a gold medal or whatever else, you know, on the podium at ADCC?
I think I was distracted a lot back then. I was partying, just fucking around, drinking. I'm sober now. I don't drink alcohol at all. I'm 100% on point all the time as far as lifestyle goes now. I sleep 8 to 10 hours a day. I'm just on point and I'm focused, and I'm reading, I'm filling my head with good stuff. You know, I know it sounds corny, but I'm just living that lifestyle. And, you know, for years, I always tried to do my own thing and kind of create my own way. But, you know, that's not for everyone. And I just feel like for me personally, like when I'm focused and dialed in, like I'm just at my best self and I can just do things, you know, because I've fallen short so many times. And, you know, everyone, like I've been telling everyone, it's easy to win and like stay on top. You know, it's easy for you to be that. Obviously, it's tough to put the work in, but as an athlete, winning all the time, it's great for your confidence. You know, you don't really have to like question anything, doubt it. You can just dial down. But what about when you're losing for years? Like, who are you going to become? What are you going to do? You know, what are you going to make out of that? And I feel like I've been holding on to like this, like I said earlier, a chip on my shoulder that just I know where I belong, and so I'm not going to let anything get in the way of me realizing that in August. So I'm just focused.
What was that feeling like when you won at trials? What'd you feel?
Just literally just like I told you, I've been telling you guys, like if you look at my face, everyone's like after they won crying, jumping around. But if you look at my face, just like, yeah, what's up? Like, yeah,
like you knew it.
I was like nodding my head, like, yeah, like I'm back. Like, what's good? You know, because a lot of people didn't want to see me into that tournament just because like I was already like invited twice, and people don't like to see other guys do good things and get good opportunities. So a lot of people didn't want me to be in that tournament, and I could just like, you know, I could tell a lot of people are like, well, you can't deny him now. You know, like the whole tournament, I'm saying, where's my invite? Where's my invite? And then I get the actual ticket, and then it's like, you know, see, like I was lobbying for an invite, and it was warranted. It was warranted, and I proved it. And so I just feel like it was just like I'm back. You know, it wasn't anything crazy, no, nothing emotional. Like it just felt like I was exactly where I needed to be.
You were talking earlier about like it's kind of the clichéness of, you know, doing all the right stuff. But I mean, you know, that's for most people, we spend what, you know, 2 to 4 hours maybe in the gym training. And then the rest of the time, the other 20 to 22 spent outside of the gym. Right. So everything you do obviously makes a big deal. I'm curious, when did you like, cause I've have several students obviously who have stopped drinking for different reasons. And like, you notice this uptick in how they're performing on the mats, how they're doing, even their mental headspace. When did you, for you, it was like, when did you know, like, man, like I need to stop drinking. This is just too much.
So back in 2022 Worlds, I went against, I was doing good. Like I thought I was going to win that tournament. It was in the middle heavyweight, and I went against Pedro Hosha, and he like DDT slammed me from a stack pass and guillotined me, and it went viral. And that was just like, he was just so strong and so athletic. And I was just like, I need to change my habits. If I'm going to be going against monsters like this, I need every single thing I can get. You know, I'm a natural athlete. I don't have anything in my body except freaking apple turnovers and non-alcoholic beer, right? Other than that, like it's all just technique and skill set. So I was like, I need to have every single thing I can have on my side to go against these guys because I want to win. And at that point, I never touched alcohol again. So I always thank him for that, just because he did motivate me to be better. And without that loss, I don't think I would have woken up in time enough to capitalize on what I'm doing now. And even still, like even after like the drinking stopped, I still didn't achieve everything like I thought I would originally. I lost the next year at Pans, the next year at Worlds. I'm getting put on posters of me getting rear naked choked and like at Flow Grappling, banners everywhere, like literally like ridiculed, you know, embarrassing. Cause like I felt like I wasn't getting posted a lot by Flow when I was doing good. Yeah. But whenever I would do bad, it's like they would be right there, you know? And I'm just like, it's like I was just that guy to help push other athletes, like a gatekeeper. And I refused. And I was just like, all right, we got to dial in more. We got to sharpen my mind. And it's funny, like kind of when I loosened my grip of like controlling that and like my image and my identity, that's when things started doing good. I came out and did the Worlds and I ran through the bracket. I lost in the finals, came up short, but still like making waves, catching good submissions, competing really well, and you know, making a scene. So it feels good that like I did make the right choice, and I hope I inspire everybody else, because I know there's a lot of guys in sport that turn to alcohol because we have so much energy and angst and anxiety and stress. And sometimes if you don't regulate that, it can manifest into like that's why you hear about all these crazy sick athletes becoming like crazy party guys, because it has to go somewhere, you know. But I suggest, like, you know, finding something else to take away that energy, because it's not worth it, especially like when you're getting older. Like, I see some of these guys like entering their 30s. I'm 30, so I see a lot of guys that have entered their 30s and just blew it, just totally became like just like has-beens just because of their choices after their 20s. I feel like now like is the most crucial time in my life to make sure that I do everything right so I can maximize my athletic career as much as I can, instead of just washing it away over a freaking.
I think you're up against it, man. Like the time is not, you know, when you're in your 20s, like I got all the time in the world. Now you're in your 30s, like time is against me. Like I got to make this happen now.
Yep.
And I think that's a crazy motivator, because like you see, you know, all these people, young guys like 17, 18, you know, winning trials, like people are really like at a high level now to, you know, you're older, like your body takes probably a little more time to get moving, you know.
I still feel good. If I'm being honest, I feel great. I honestly feel like with the lifestyle choices, like, and I tell this to a lot of guys, because I feel like a lot of people want to hang up the hat around 30, even like 35. But if you look at Josh Hinger, man, Josh Hinger came into the scene at like 34 and dominated black belt divisions for like 5+ years. I'm talking submitting these youngsters. And I just feel like, to all the guys that are like progressing in age, like, dial down. You are stronger, you are wiser, you're more disciplined than the youth guys. The youthful guys, it's easy right now because everything's new and winning is all they know. I used to be like that too, the youngster that was beating everyone. And then I take a couple of losses and then see what happens. So, like, you know, for all the guys that are progressing in age, just bunker down and believe, you know, you're a machine. You haven't even hit your prime yet.
For sure. Yeah, you have some good years ahead of you. Just like you said, you have to be a little bit more dialed in. Like when you're younger, you can get away with some stuff, you know, and then as you get older, you still have a high level of capacity. It just, you have to dial in and you have to be a little bit more conscious about the lifestyle choices, you know, and obviously you are. And I think what's cool about it too is you're sort of illustrating something that, like, I think people sometimes get wrong, where, like, you know, the self-help stuff is always like about feel positive and you know, but when you think about it, a lot of guys, they do a hell of a lot off of, say, like negative emotions. Like you said, like you're looking at your face, like right here, because you're like, you've submitted all these guys, you've won all these tournaments, but the only thing that you get on this poster is you getting choked out. You're not getting your invite. You're like, you know, screw this. I'm going to show you, right? Like, I'm going to show you that this is whatever. And those negative emotions, when you channel them in the right places, they become a powerful motivator. Right. Yeah. I think they're way more powerful than like, I feel really good about this. Like, no, man, like you got that fire under your ass. And that's, I think that's a worthwhile lesson to understand.
I agree.
Yeah, but what's your, like, when you saw like a poster like that, like, you know, initially your thoughts, what do you feel? And then how do you kind of get past that negative stuff to like turn it into something that you can use as fuel?
I mean, like, I'm literally walking into the world championships and I'm like getting ready to go compete. And like the banner is literally just me getting choked. So I'm just like having to get ready to go compete. I'm cutting weight. So I'm just like, okay, but I'm really good at blinding everything out and just kind of putting these on.
Yeah.
I'm really good at that. Like, I can like pretend things aren't there. They can disassociate, you know, like I can have like people watching me or cameras on me and I can just pretend that they're not there. And I do that as well, especially like when there's naysayers and negativity, because I'm not going to focus on that. I'm always going to be my biggest fan and I know my potential. So seeing things like that, yeah, it hurts, it sucks, but I can't do anything about it. And I always think about the story that will be told after I come back from those kind of adversities. And here we are now, speaking about it, just like I always expected to, you know? So this is, don't listen to the haters. I have a really good support group around me that know my potential, that like really know my potential, like close friends that have spent so much time and energy on me throughout the years, to where like I know like they believe, and with my family's belief and my own belief, I really don't need anybody else's. So that's also nice too, because throughout these dark couple of years of inactivity and falling short, I've been able to kind of dial in and realize that, you know, it is just going to be me and my people. And so even now, after winning and getting back into the scene in such a crazy way, like I'm still not like, it's not going to change me at all. It doesn't phase me at all. It just makes me just dial in even more, just understanding what I can do and who I've got behind me. So it's a good learning lesson, just dealing with that and dealing with crazy adversity. Like I'm talking like going from like being thrusted into the highest level of competition at like the age of 22 to falling short and then being forgotten about and then having to come back in such a way. And then now everyone's like surprised, but all the ones that like have stuck with me, they're not surprised because we know what I can do. And it's nice to realize that physically.
The importance of community, I think, like having like good people around you, right? Coaches, a solid gym, family, stuff like that. I think keeping, you know, you're a product of that too, right? Having people around you that can lift you up when you need it.
100%.
Here's a question for you. So, you know, a lot of times, well, may I say it this way? I don't know what you felt going into the tournament, but earlier you said that, you know, you sort of gave up on this care of like trying to control the situation, your image, everything else. You're just like, screw it, whatever. I'm just going to go do what I'm going to do. And then you're going into a competition where, you know, you're coming in at you're coming at 175 with guys that are obviously much larger than you. You know, you're going into a situation where I don't know how it feels for you, but you know, on the outside, it would seem like, all right, well, it's like a win-win. Like if you do great, then you win. It's great. And if you don't, well, hey, whatever. I'm going to these big guys. Like it's not my weight class anyway. Did you have much pressure going into the ADCC trials? And if not, if you had less pressure, do you feel like that? Also said you weren't even training hardcore for it, right? You said you were training for your MMA stuff. So, you know, it's not like you could say, man, I put in a full camp for this thing and I was training really hard for this one specific thing. It was like, it sounds like to me that maybe you went in there and it was like, all right, signed up last minute. I'm just going to do this. Let's see what happens. Do you think there was a lack of pressure going into there? Like you were just kind of like, let's see what happens. And do you think that made it better for you because you could go in without the pressure of a full camp and everything, all that on the line, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, I think that leading up to the event, I was dreading it because I'm just like, oh, here's trials coming up. I'm definitely going to compete. There was never anything in my mind that I wasn't going to compete. Last trials I did, my foot got broken in my second match. I ended up winning the match, but I had a broken foot just because I let this dude rip a toehold on me from the 99 plus division as well. So I was also like going in worried about my health because I'm like, man, I don't want another broken foot again because that one sucked and it prevented my performance to do good. So like I was like worried about like my health, I feel. So that also was like kind of relieving because I wasn't necessarily worried about any kind of like, you know, winning or being, you know, seen again, things like that. I wasn't worried about anything like that. I was worried about just staying healthy. Luckily, I always do cardio. I ride my bike everywhere. I'm doing cardio all day. The MMA stuff, super cardio. I hadn't been doing jiu-jitsu. I hadn't been lifting weights. So I went in there, I put my name in the bracket. Literally looking at the bracket and just saying I could beat all these guys, like on my worst day. So I knew I was better than the whole bracket. And I knew that I had potential to just do my thing, but I just needed to go make it happen sequentially over the course of a 2-day tournament. So with that in mind, like, because I'm not going to sign up for a tournament that I don't think I'm going to win, you know, but I'll put my name in any bracket. I never miss a world championship. I never miss a Pan American championship. I never miss the trials. Like I'm always going to do those. Always. I might not be active throughout the year and do other small ones, but I will do those no matter what. So I think that's just habit of putting my name in and just being ready to compete and then just having everything ready for me to win, which was like, it was just really weird how everything happened. Just, you know, everything happened. It was like destiny. Like I guarded everyone up, even though I haven't played guard in months, you know, like I've been playing top, you know, I'm feeling good. I popped my rib in my fourth match and didn't even feel it until after the whole bracket was done. You know, I'm still not even training that much because of my rib. Some of the guys I thought I was going to go against ended up losing, which was weird. I thought I was going to be me and Hansen in the final.
Yeah, Hansen got put out. And there was a few other upsets. I was like, when I was looking at the bracket, I was surprised to see several names get put out relatively early.
Yeah, it was weird how everything happened, and I was just like, okay, this is my moment. Yeah, it was just really weird how everything happened, and I didn't have much pressure on me. And then I have this ability, like when I enter the room in a tournament, like maybe like leading up to the tournament, like I was nervous, I couldn't really eat, you know, I was getting kind of shaky, overthinking. But the moment I step into that arena, it's just like cold, calm, collected, still. Like I've been able to like train turning that switch on to where I'm not thinking, because there's no time to be nervous in situations like this. If you're nervous and you're scared, you're gonna make a mistake, you're gonna panic. And when you're going against these big dudes, there is no room for panic, because like these guys could slam me on my head, they could break my ankle, they could Kimura me, rip my shoulder out, like devastating injuries. So like I feel like I had no, it was like I was so worried about like my physical safety, like no, nothing else was like, I was just primal, on point, dialed in for my own health, because like I said, last trials got my foot ripped off. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I was focused on staying safe.
Is there a way you kind of over the years developed like that sense of calm, that sense of focus when getting into obviously you're nervous beforehand, but is there something that you do specifically, like maybe some kind of mantra or something you say or something that you do as like a routine to get yourself kind of ready to go right before your matches?
Well, as I'm going up to the tournament, anytime I get that angst, I meditate a long time, like 30 to 60 minutes, like a long time. I just like totally regulate my mind, my body. I find somewhere to chill, close my eyes for like an hour, put a timer on, and just relax everything. And moments that in tournaments that I've done that, and I've stuck to that, and I've made sure to calm my mind when I'm feeling that, I've always done well. And I write down my affirmations every day. I keep everything, you know, I do all that good stuff. Like I'm powerful, I'm courageous, I'm brave. I'm excited to compete. I love to perform in high pressure situations. I get into all that metaphysical, spooky shit like every day, like clockwork. That's also another thing I do. I spend a lot of time reading and writing. I write down about who I want to be and how I want to be all the time, and I drill that shit into my brain to where even when I'm competing and I'm exhausted, like I'm seeing these like thoughts come into my head. Whereas before, when I would compete, maybe I'd be like, oh no, like I don't want to lose, like hurry, you might this might fail. Where this time it was like, I don't even think you can beat me. That's what I'm thinking in these matches. I don't think you get past my guard. I don't even think you have it in you, you know, like literally. And I was surprised by that voice, because usually it's always been a more concerned, cagey voice in my head during the midst of battle. But this time it was all just power, just like, let's go, let's keep it up, you know, just dialed in. It was weird. I also cooled down between every single match, which I liked. Like after every single match, I'd run back to the mat and I would roll for like another 10 minutes just to kind of cool down. And I felt like I didn't get that like adrenaline dump, post-match adrenaline dump. Mm-hmm. I just didn't really give myself some time to chill and to like calm down. The whole tournament, I'm walking around, I'm pacing, I'm not laying down, I'm not sitting, I'm like eating, I'm chewing on banana here and there. I'm super hydrated, but I was cooling down after every single match, warming up good before every single match. The whole tournament, I was sweating basically and staying super hydrated, and it helped me stay fresh. And I never felt fatigue until the whole tournament was over. So I feel like keeping that mind calm and regulated and keeping that body sharp and warm, that's a good recipe for anybody to do well in competition.
And obviously you were talking about getting nervous. I think that's always an interesting thing. Like younger, when I say younger, I just mean inexperienced people. When they come into jiu-jitsu and they come into competition, a lot of times they feel like they need to get rid of the nerves. Like they feel like there's something wrong with it. And it's like, again, it's part of like, you can interpret it as negative, or you can be like, this is just my body getting ready to go to battle. It is what it is. Right. Mm-hmm. But do you think that like because at least for me, like anytime I've competed, my whole focus was, if I get a really good warm up, I can get the blood pumping, I can get through all the angst, that nervousness beforehand, where my legs feel shaky, my grip feels a little weak, my hands are cold. And like once I get that blood pumping and I get my heart racing a little bit, and I get that first good warm up, then I'm like, I'm ready to go. Oh, for you, is there anything like obviously you meditate and stuff like that? Do you try to make sure you dial it in with a good warm up before every one of your matches?
Yeah, I like to get rid of, just like you said, I like to get rid of that angst and anxiety with just blowing my lungs out and getting tired. I want to feel fatigue a little bit. Like I want to feel my heart rate. I want to be out of breath. I want to, like, in training, like the first match is always going to be weird. Yeah. But then the second and third and fourth and fifth match, you're just feeling good. So I always like to just, like, if I could, I would just call out random guys on the warm-up mat and roll, because it's like a simulation match, because I don't know them. I've done it before at a couple super fights, and I've done really well when I've called out random guys to roll with me on the open in the warm-up mat area, just because it is like a, it's like a simulated.
It's like your first match before your first match.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know this guy. He's about to compete. So I'm a big advocate in warming up good. I don't understand how some guys can just like chill and just sit and then like compete. I just don't think that's smart. And if you do see a guy that is not warming up and is just kind of like being lazy and just kind of waiting for his match, those are the guys that you just blitz in the beginning of the match, because they're expecting to warm up as the match goes on. But if you're going against a guy that's not warming up, blitz them, because they're not ready. A lot of my competitors weren't warming up. Like the second guy that I went against on the second day, he didn't warm up at all. I watched him not warm up, so I just blitzed him quick.
Yeah. Your body's all warmed up and ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready. I've been drilling the move. I was drilling the moves that I hit on some of these guys in the warm-up mat, like before I hit them.
You said you read a lot. Have you read anything? I'm always reading something. Have you read anything good recently?
Right now I'm reading I actually got it right here. Power of Subconscious Mind, Dr. Joseph Murphy. He's good. I'm reading As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Just like,
that's a good one, yeah.
Just like simple things, basic, you know, Think and Grow Rich, the Master Key System, all these things, just really, really good stuff to fill your head with. Yeah, I stick to that. I listen to a lot of like Earl Nightingale, Neville Goddard, just like these guys, these new thought thinkers. And
Earl Nightingale's, he's old school, bro. He had like a platinum record. You know what I mean? Like he
heard he had a radio show too.
Yeah, he did. Well, so that was like the whole thing about him was he had a radio show, I think he was a radio show or something. Basically, he put out like this little memo for these guys, and then like he went on a trip. He comes back, and everybody had shared this stuff that he had been given to him. And he comes back and he's damn near famous because they didn't have phones. He went on a boat. Wow. They went on a trip sailing or whatever, or some like long boat trip or whatever. And he comes back and all of a sudden it's like, hey, surprise. Like we all know your stuff now. And then that kind of got his career kicked off. I'm butchering some of the details, but something to that degree. I really liked his Lead the Field. I remember in that one, yeah, that's a good one. He has a good audio program too. He's got that old school voice or whatever, but in that one, I remember the thing that stuck with me. I listened to it probably in my early 20s. He was talking about, if you look around, everybody's basically doing the same thing and they're getting the same results. So if you don't want the same result, just do something different, you know? And it's like, you look at people getting themselves like, and for me at the time, I was like, I'm watching people getting swamped in debt. They hate their lives. Everything's miserable. I'm like, okay, so I don't want to play that game that you guys are playing. I need to find a different game to play because I don't 100%. Want to be a slave to a bank or whatever, you know? And so for you guys listening, that's a fun one, at least Lead the Field. So Earl Nightingale, that's funny. You don't hear people mention him very often.
Yeah, he's great. I like all those guys.
You're full of like all kinds of, dude, Chewy's always like story time, man. He's always got like all kinds of, like a damn encyclopedia.
Citizen of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike, I actually wanted to ask you, man, like, so when you're talking about like you're fatiguing your opponents, things like that. Is there certain things you look for? Like if you're especially going against big guys, you're not going to, they're probably going to overpower you most likely. So what do you look for in your opponent when you feel like they're starting to break or starting to fatigue or get tired? What are you trying to like see? And then when you know it's time to push on the gas and take them out?
Well, I like to start making my opponent think a lot, I like putting him out his rhythm. I do weird grips. I'll do like a fishhook grip, like a reverse chin strap where I'll like come around the head and I'll grab the chin and I'll pull it up. Very unorthodox grip, but it makes a lot of my opponents kind of like hesitate and like figure out what's going on. And in those moments, like I can find other little annoying grips. So I try to annoy my opponent. I like to get them flustered. I like to outthink my opponent, make them think, put them in new areas that they haven't been in, and then I like to capitalize off that because that's when the panic comes in, and that's when guys really start getting tired. when they're not in their comfort zone, when they're out of their comfort zone and they're getting out thought. It's like playing speed chess with like monkeys sometimes, because some of these guys they make the worst decisions, and like I'll be like grabbing their chin with my left hand and then they're just trying to grab my ankle. I'm like, hey buddy, like get
You're
your
giving
grip
me
back.
control.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, so I try to make these guys think and question their moves. I pull on their head a lot. I switch guards a lot too. I don't stay in one guard for too long. Like if you notice, like I'm always assessing risk and reward when I'm on bottom and on top. In all situations, I'm trying to make the best decisions possible as far as like positioning, gripping, whatever. So when one guy is like getting settled to get ready to pass my close guard, I'm already in K guard. Then when he's getting settled to go to the K guard, I'm already back to, you know, spinning underneath for something else. So it's just constant movement. It is a cardio based style, because I do have to stay moving basically all the time. But I think, like, you know, in my brain, like I ride bikes a lot. I'll go up hills all the time, and biking up a steep hill is super tough, because when you get to the top, you have to keep riding, right? Because like right when you get to the top, you just want to stop, and you just did that huge workout and you're exhausted, but you have to keep riding because the road's still going. So in my mind, even when I'm tired, I'm ready to keep going, just moving. I'll keep moving even when I'm exhausted. And some of these guys, especially the big guys, they don't train like that, you know, especially when you got someone like me who's not like I'm not like a light featherweight. Like I'm like a middle heavyweight. So I'm big enough to do what light featherweights can do to lightweights or middleweights, you know what I mean? But I can do it to ultras. Yeah. So I just keep it in my field, you know, I keep it in my realm. I don't like to take chances. You know, some grapplers create a lot of chaos. I don't like creating chaos. I like controlling every single situation. I'm down to be chaotic though too. I have moves for that. I got systems. I got the good guillotine. I got good wrestling, good single leg defense. So I'm down for the chaos, but I want to control every single moment of the match.
One away for the person on the top. Let's say if you're playing this bottom game, like you're saying, moving from guard to guard, playing with weird grips, it is chaotic to a degree for the person on the top, but for you, it's very controlled, right? Because you think about that, a lot of what we do when we're grappling is we're going off of intuitive feel. Like we go off of like, oh, you grab this way, I do this, whatever, because I felt it so many times. With you changing your grips up, you're putting the person into a position that they're not used to. So now instead of being able to have this automatic response, they're going to go back to what they normally do, like say they're grabbing an ankle or something, or they have to make a conscious thought to like remove this grip, which is now like slowing them down and they're having to use more energy. Or if you're, like you said, it's such a smart thing, switching from guard. So every time they get comfortable and they're like, I'm getting ready to pass this guard, you've switched on them. Now they have to change gears and they have to think about it differently. So you're making them work a ton while at the same time you're keeping kind of a steady pace. And they're constantly having to react to you. So you're in the driver's seat rather than them being in the driver's seat on top.
Yes. Because I feel like in combat sports, especially, like there's a rhythm going on, and you always want to make sure that it's your rhythm and your pace that your opponent's following. Because if you're following their rhythm and their pace, that means you're in their tunnel, their web, their system. So that's what I was saying earlier. Like that's where step one comes in, the hand fighting, the positioning. As long as it's on your terms, you're going to be in the driver's seat. Obviously there's moves, there's flying triangle, freak jumps, you know, like there's weird little nuances that you have, cartwheel passes that you have to watch out for, flashy, explosive movements. But once you dial those down and you understand when they can come out, like you can still just control everything. That's why I like the guard, because the guards are so many weapons, and especially with going against bigger guys, they're like kind of laying on me, so they can kind of fall into things like omoplatas, triangle attacks. Now they're pulling up out of the triangle. Now I'm on the leg. You know, now they're trying to sprawl on the leg. I'm back on the arm. So it's like their sequencing in their brain is a little bit slower, because like we were saying, the rhythm for a bigger man versus bigger man is slower than a bigger man versus a smaller dude, right? So now they're having to speed their stuff up, but they don't even operate on this level. They're operating at a way slower rate, maybe like 2 pass attempts per minute, where I'm actually throwing off like 5 to 15 attacks within 2 minutes. So it's a different kind of rate. And wait till I put some pounds on them at the World Championship. I'll be a little bit bigger and I'll be a little bit more dangerous. So it'll be nice.
How much weight are you going to try to pack on, do you think?
I'll probably try to be there like 195.
That's tough. Well, that's like the like I don't want to say giant killer because you're a big guy at that point, but like when you look at a lot of like absolute brackets, that's a lot of times some of the most successful sort of weights around that low 200s, upper 100s range, because it's like you said, it's where you are able to move body weight around because you're big and strong enough to do it. Like you're not like a 130 pounder, right? But then you don't have to feed as much body mass as some of these big guys, because obviously, people get bigger, but their lungs aren't getting, as much bigger as like when you say like the multiples as far as your body weight goes. So they tire out faster, so they're able to make them work harder and then burn them up. So that'll be interesting. 195, 190. That'll be a big Mike Perez.
Yeah, it'll be big enough to do what I did at trials, but to some of the best heavyweights in the world. So I think it'll be good. I want to make sure I stay flexible, stay nimble, keep my cardio about me. I'm going to lift. I'm going to go train at Penn State for a little bit, train with those guys, get some tips from my boy, Roman Bravo Young. He was watching every single match, and he's like, I'll show you some tricks for these guys. And
cool.
With him behind me and those guys, like, they'll figure out a game plan to put these big boys down, because if these guys want to take me down, they're going to have to say what's up to my guillotine, and that's its own animal and beast. So I'm ready for that. I want to put some of these guys on their back and show my passing, because that's actually my forte, is being on top. So that'll be nice. I want that.
Mike, what would you if you had to like tell your younger self something, or like any advice for yourself when you're starting out that maybe we could have changed the course or done something, like maybe helped you or kept you out of trouble or whatever, what would you tell yourself?
Beers don't taste that good. It's all in your mind. Stay away from the ladies. They'll be around forever. And just keep
dropping quotes, man.
All the normal young guy, the problems we all run into, right?
Cut it out.
You got
Don't
one of the.
Do it.
I wrote down one of the. You might have one of the best quotes of the podcast of all time. It's like playing speed chess with monkeys.
Yeah,
it's a fun one.
That might be one of the best quotes.
That might be like that would look good on a t-shirt.
That is, man. We have to make one.
Speed chess with monkeys.
Yeah, let's trade.
That's awesome, brother. Well, yeah. I mean, sure, you got anything, Dan?
No, man, I'm excited to see you compete at like in the big show. Thanks. And because it's like I said, it was I think out of the trials coming out of it, that was to me the performance that stood out amongst the rest of them. It's like, when we, what we're told about jiu-jitsu obviously is like technique is always more important than strength, and that, strength obviously makes a role, and you're an in shape guy, right? You got some strength to you, but it was fun to see someone go into the big show, the big weight division, and go against good guys and beat them and play like a really sound game plan in a tournament that favors a lot of times the guys who have the takedowns and stuff like that. So it was fun to watch. I thought it was probably the most impressive performance out of the whole trials. And so when you go to the big one, the championships later on this summer, that's gonna be fun to watch. And I'm excited to see it.
We're going all the way. We're gonna take that gold medal. Watch. I just feel like with this performance at the trials, it would just kind of make sense if I took a gold medal at this point. So I think we got to make sure to see, man. See it through. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, if people want to kind of follow you, see what you're up to, kind of learn from you, whatever, how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Instagram at Pichaelmerez, Pichaelmerez. That's usually the only thing I'm active on. I need to step it up, and I will as this camp goes on. But yeah,
maybe not. Like, pump it on Instagram and like just build that. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, not everybody needs to be everywhere, right? Like, so
yeah,
Instagram's where you like being.
I'm the type of guy where I like to focus on my training and my life. I love my routine so much. Like, the jiu-jitsu lifestyle is a beautiful thing that I feel like a lot of people just let pass by. But I really enjoy my life. I train 2-3 times a day. I don't have time to be on YouTube and Snapchat and all this posting. Although like it is lucrative for like, brand deals and exposure. So I think that maybe I need to get someone to do it for me, just because it's so, I don't know how you do it, Chewy. You're a beast on social media, bro. And yeah, I need to take a page out of your book, dude, because you're doing a great job.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, whatever. So, I mean, but like, again, you can pick one of them and make it your thing, right? So like I started on YouTube. I wasn't really messing around with Instagram. I did YouTube. And then afterwards, the other ones are kind of extra. I don't really like, I don't even really like being on Instagram that much, and I don't do Twitter, I don't do Snapchat, you know, like I said, we don't have fucking time, you know? So you just like pick one and then just make your thing. Go find like some young guy in the gym who like would want to help you. You know, I'm sure there's some young guy that probably knows how to like make posts and stuff, and they can like help you out, and you can show them some jujitsu and make an exchange or something, you know?
I would love that because I hate this shit. But yeah, if anybody wants me for a seminar out there, hit me up. I won't be too busy until June.
Cool.
My workshops have always been really, really good. I always make sure that I break my systematic approach to winning these tournaments to a T. So if you guys want to reach out, hit me up on Instagram, and we can go from there.
Hell yeah, bro.
Sweet.
Well, man, good luck to you, and it was a pleasure having you on, and let you up sometime again.
Thanks, guys. Let's talk again after I win it, all right?
All right, man. We'll do.
Lock it in
awesome,
now.
brother.
I'll talk to you guys.
Hey, listen, I'll tell you, if you win, I think all that social media stuff will work itself out. I promise.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we can
so you're good. Don't even worry about it. Don't worry about it. Good luck to you,
sounds
brother.
good, guys. Thanks a lot. All right. Take care.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man.
Later. Thanks, boys.
All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that podcast. Again, there was a lot of cool takeaways from that podcast. If you were listening and sort of making notes to yourself, you know, there's a lot of strategic and sort of tactical ideas that you could take away from your own jiu-jitsu, you know, your own competitions, or even just rolling with people in the gym. And again, Mike's one of those guys where, as I said earlier on the podcast, been around for a long time. You know, he's been competing for a long time. He's been competing against some of the best guys in the world for a long time.
And he's beaten some of the best guys in the world too.
Right. Yeah. And again, just hasn't, for whatever reason, you know, shown up on the radar sometimes. Happens a lot of times. There's a lot of really good guys out there where, you know, because they're not as vocal on social media and stuff like that, sometimes they get often overlooked and ignored. And again, I get it. That's the sort of the nature of the business when you get into matches and competition and prize fighting, essentially.
Yeah,
right?
eyeballs. You want people to watch you compete. And I think you have to bring some, I think it should just be about skill set, right? And talent and kind of what you bring to the table in that capacity. But I think with get more eyeballs, get more viewership, I think, you know, you have to be marketable as well. I think Mike is. I think he's
super marketable.
He is 100%. It's just, you have to kind of, I guess, advocate for yourself a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you have to market yourself in a way where, again, and you can market yourself in lots of different ways.
Right.
You know, in that's one of the things too, when it, like he was talking about, man, I need to be more, you know, I need to be in all these different things. I'm like, well, maybe you just pick one of them that you like being on and just stick to that. Cause that's like one of the things where I'm not very big on Instagram. I don't really like the format. I use it a little bit so I can communicate with people and also to post some stuff. But I like the format of YouTube better because it's a longer form piece of content. So, you know, I know that when someone like for instance, I can look at my stats and if you ever do this, if you ever go like on if you ever go like to an airport, watch people on their phones, right? If people are going on Instagram, they're just doing this. It's like Tinder for content. You know what I mean? It's really what it is. It's like, you know, you're just swiping left, swiping right, whatever, right? Where you're just scrolling. You watch it for about 3 seconds and you scroll. 3 seconds, scroll. 3 seconds, scroll. So it's all about this boom, 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 boom content that like maybe you learn something from it, but in my estimation, most of us learn something when we sit down with something and we're like, I'm going to digest this. Right? I'm not going to read the cliff notes. I'm going to actually sit down and be with this. And I think that sometimes we get hijacked and we get bamboozled into thinking that like novelty is somehow we're getting something from it. Like, you know, you think about all the crap that you digest on TikTok and Instagram. How much of it do you really get out of it? Maybe you maybe get something here and there. I'm not saying you don't, but like, how much do you, like, if you said like you spend an hour on this damn thing, what do you really get out of it? How much do you actually retain versus like what happens when you like sit down with a book and you really dive into it? How much of that do you retain where you really like you're with it? If you ever have done that, or even if you're like, you get an instructional and you sit down and you like digest it, you take notes, then you go practice it in your gym and you get super focused on it. You know, I think it's worthwhile to think about the cost of everything, right? Like, I'm going off completely off topic and we'll go back to the podcast, but you know, it's one of those things where like, going through some of my notes in Walden recently. Walden was a book that Henry David Thoreau wrote. He went out into the woods and basically his buddy Emerson had a little bit of property. He said, hey, let me build a cabin on your property. He did, built this little 1-room cabin, lived there for a while. and built it himself and just lived there. He's like, he was doing it for a couple of reasons. One, he saw this growing consumerism of the 1800s. Like, man, like, you know, people are getting so obsessed with stuff. And then also too, he was trying to sort of have time to think about his ideas and have experience on his ideas for his theories on economics. And the thing that he made, his big switch on economics, was shifting from like money to time.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times people say, this cost me this much money, right? Well, how much time is that?
Yeah.
That's what's important, right? Because it's like, the idea is like, let's say that, for instance, you could buy here's a great example. I bought my car that I have now. I bought it. It's a Camry, right? It's a grocery getter, right? I bought it cash for like some years ago. I'm driving until the wheels fall off, right? Now I could have afforded a more expensive, nicer car, right? Like we go get a Mercedes or something like that, right? If you wanted to, or something, just something, whatever big car you want, right? But then I'm like, well, what does that do to my lifestyle then? That means I've got a big old fat car payment, and then like it's got more expensive maintenance.
Yes.
And like all that comes into it. So that means that's time of my life. And so his whole thing was like, and he made this quote where I don't have the quote on me, but he was talking about the fact that, paraphrasing here, that like people are literally like, these farmers and stuff, they're getting these bigger plots of land, bigger barns, bigger this, bigger that. What? You know, it's like you could get by on less and have more time for your life to actually enjoy. But instead you feel like you need more, you need nicer stuff, you know, but like for what? Like all that nicer stuff is being pushed on you, but really all it's doing is taking away your time of your life. And we get pushed into this with like social media, where like we're told we need to do this stuff, right? Or we mistakenly believe that we need to be on it all the time because we're going to miss something. The hell are you going to miss? You're not going to miss anything. You're wasting your friggin' life scrolling on a damn phone, missing the experiences in front of you. One of you guys messaged me recently. You said you listen to the podcast. You're like, Chewy, do you still like have your like delete Instagram off your phone? I do. Like I install it when I need to use it, when I want to fiddle around at a particular time, but it's a very conscious decision. But otherwise it stays deleted on my phone because it's just too much of a time suck. Like I'm not stronger than anybody else, right? And like these machines, these little gadgets are like made by some of the brightest people in the world to hijack your brain. I'm not that strong. So I have to just delete it. Yeah. And then like when I sit at my desk, then I open it up and give myself basically like a set, like a sort of a process for like, this is when I can use it, this is when I can't, kind of thing. Anyway, rant over. Let's give one of you guys a shout out for recently giving us a review.
I'm going to read this one.
All right.
This is a long one. Buckle in, everybody. Here we go.
Okay, here we go.
It's by Bill Blink.
Bill Blink.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
And the title is awesome. Let me get to this. Hold on.
So title is awesome.
The title is awesome,
okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and start. Let me paraphrase it. It says Chewy rocks. That's it.
That's great. I like
that.
It.
That is.
Thank you, Bill.
Review.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate you, brother.
Exclamation mark, by the way. I was very excited.
Very excited.
5-star review. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
We appreciate it very much. It means a lot that you guys listen, pay attention, or get something from a podcast, I guess. So,
yeah, again, that stuff helps. So like, I know sometimes we have ads, and a lot of people are like, oh my God, like there was someone on Reddit, which again, I shouldn't read Reddit very much, but every now and then
Reddit's pretty funny though.
Reddit,
some crazy shit. Like Reddit is like just it's no holds barred, man. Anything goes.
Well, it's because again, it's like the comment sections, and it's Reddit. It's like anytime you have someone that can basically speak from a anonymous platform, it's like they just get ruthless. But someone was criticizing the podcast for like the ad reads, and I'm like, well, it's like, you know, hey, we're all doing stuff. Again, we're very picky about the stuff that we put on the podcast. You know, like again, it's something I feel like could be useful to you. But also too, it's like, again, we're all trying to, you know, make a couple bucks for our time, right? Now, again, I know that some of you guys may not have the desire to join the Patreon. You may not need any of the products that we offer. But if you do like the podcast and you're like, hey, I'd like to support the guys because I listen to them every week or whatever it might be, whatever podcast app you're listening to, if there is a rating function, would be happy to get a 5-star review from you, or whatever the best review is. If for some reason you don't think it's worth it, well, that's okay too. I'm not worried about having a squeaky clean, review rating. If you give us a 1-star review, that's okay. Although I would ask you, why are you've already listened to a whole podcast with us. Why would you give us a 1? I mean, at least give us like somewhere you finished the podcast. That is a long-term commitment for an hour-long podcast in today's world of like short form content.
That's right.
But But yeah, any of you guys that give us reviews, we'll obviously give you a shout out here, and also appreciate the hell out of you. Thank you very much. And again, that I'm glad that you guys are listening. Hopefully, we continue to bring you some good guests and some good ideas. We have some guests coming up soon too. That'll be great.
We got a string of ADCC competitors, and we got somebody that's coming on. It's probably one of the best grapplers in the world right now, so it's gonna be very exciting.
Yes, I mean, I like when I can bringing on some of the like especially when I go to the trials, there's like a lot of up and comers, or there's a lot of guys, average jiu-jitsu people just don't know about because they're not that deep into it. But there's these guys like Mike, who's been around forever. We've got some other guys that have been around for a long time, and maybe you don't know them. But they're people that I think maybe, they're worth watching. And a lot of times the people I bring on the guests with Eugene here, and the people that like I go out and message, the people that he messages, we try to bring on guests that are actually fun to watch. And I know it sounds weird, but like the only guests I'm going to bring on are like guys I get excited to like watch. Like Mike, you couldn't help but watching his matches, and be excited to watch that. And so again, anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast and got something from it. Again, big thanks to our sponsors for supporting the podcast and bringing our beautiful voices to your ears every week. CBD, Charles Web CBD. If you guys have never checked it out, check it out at charlesweb.com. The promo code is Chewjitsu30 for 30% off the order. Again, they've got a lot of different products, everything from THC-free stuff, in case you get tested, look up the details about that, depending on your situation, to balms. And then they even have some different CBD products that they're bringing out now that, either combine different dietary supplements to, sort of boost the certain effects that they wish to do, like sleep or focus or whatever. And then they also have some of the new ones like the CBN products that are for sleep and to help get a more restful night's sleep. So a lot of cool products out there. And again, they were one of the OGs, and as far as the CBD market goes, and they're trying to continually push the sort of the standard for the CBD market to produce a good product and make sure that they're doing good work. If you ever read actually like where they came from and what got them started, you'll understand why. But anyway, so check them out, Charles Webb's CBD, charlesweb.com. Promo code is Jiu-Jitsu30 at checkout. Also, thanks to Epic Roll for supporting the podcast, longtime sponsor. Great products, great customer service, cool designs. Again, I get my gis and my rash guards made through Matt at Epic Roll. I think they do a good job with it. I get my Jim's rash guards and shorts made through him. Again, I do it because I like what he does. Again, I can go to some of these other manufacturers and stuff like that and get them made, but I've had a better experience working with Matt. And so he's done really well by me. He's done well by a lot of you guys, because I know that sometimes things pop up and his customer service is top notch. And he makes sure he makes it right. And just a reminder, we'll be coming up with some new Jiu-Jitsu rash guards and shorts soon, some new no-gi stuff. I'm sending him some designs currently right now. And so we'll have the prototypes out in the near future. And so when those come out, if you guys are interested, I'll be putting together like a cool little package for you. But in the meantime, if you want to check out his website and get some gear or t-shirts or whatever it might be, go to epicrollbjj.com and use the promo code Jiu-Jitsu20 at checkout. And last, guys, if you want to support the podcast directly, you can do so by going to the Patreon at patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. Again, we have some cool things in there. It's a whole library of content plus some other perks. The library of content includes everything from seminars that I've recorded, warm-up and stretching routines that Eugene's put together, short segments with each one of our guests, trying to get some sort of useful, sort of tangible, practical nugget of information for your jiu-jitsu training. And then on top of that, you get a ad-free version of the podcast, should you be interested in such a thing. And then also, too, we have different segments like Q&As and stuff like that we'll do inside that Patreon. And again, if you guys want to get it, patreon.com/the Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And last but not least, guys, if you want to join my daily email group, the Chew Crew, you can do so by going to my website at chewjitsu.net/join, JOIN. When you join up, you'll get access to a couple of free ebooks that I give away. One is on developing a sort of game plan for jiu-jitsu, which can be very useful. It's just a thought experiment that can kind of get you a better understanding of your game and where you have holes and where you need to fill those holes. Also, too, we have a ebook that I give away that's strictly on drilling strategies. If you want to get those, and then get my daily email that I send out, which again, if you like anything that I put out as far as my videos, the podcast stuff, you will like the daily email. So again, if you want to get that, it's at chewjitsu.net/join. And so, guys, with that said, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.